was March 15, 1907, near the end of the very first Alberta Legislative Assembly in Edmonton. Gathered in the Mackay Avenue School Assembly Hall were 23 political leaders, many of whom had participated in carving the new province of Alberta out of the Northwest Territories some 17 months earlier. They were an eclectic bunch: farmers and ranchers, a few lawyers from the bigger towns, some businessmen, a physician, a teacher. Most were transplanted Canadians from the East. Some were immigrants themselves or the children of immigrants from a variety of ethnic and national heritages. On that day, only months into the demanding work of establishing schools and roads, utilities and universities, everything that it takes to make and govern a new land, these leaders understood the value and absolute need for access to knowledge and the literacy of citizens as the key components of a modern and progressive society. They understood that the cornerstone of the civilization and culture of the new Alberta would be provided by the Act which established public library service.
May it please your honor and all honorable members of this assembly, I hereby present for passage in this House this bill titled, An Act to Provide for the Establishment of Public Libraries. I think the House would agree with me that this measure is of a very constructive nature, drawn on broad and comprehensive lines, and makes for the public good. Hear, hear.
Looking back from 100 years later, we can appreciate the impact that this act has had on the development of the province and the importance of the vision and foresight of those members of the first Legislative Assembly. We are the beneficiaries of 100 years of progress and development of public library service in Alberta. Development of library service in Alberta came at a moderate pace. As settlements grew into villages and villages into towns, the establishment of a public library was high on the agenda for the new residents. The early years of library service were almost exclusively initiated by volunteers and private donations.
In the first era, it was really sort of do-it-yourself stuff, right? People would set up a library in the church basement or the corner of an arena or whatever. It was whatever was there, and people did that. The second era, people were more active in thinking about how can we improve the do-it-yourself stuff, but it was still mostly run by groups of citizens. So there wasn't a lot of municipal money going in until the 50s.
A lot of women's groups started libraries typically as volunteers. They ran it purely by goodwill, but it was really part of their thinking about the education of a new province. And Alberta was a very new province. And out of that, then with the Libraries Act, came a way of formalizing that. And as the Libraries Act progressed, so did the libraries.
By the time of Jubilee celebrations in 1955, about 60% of Alberta municipalities boasted a library to link people and knowledge. In 1980, after 75 years of provincehood, that number had risen to 85%.
So there wasn't a lot of municipal money going in until the 50s. Then in the third era, we began to see more municipalities taking responsibility for library service, recognizing it as a service for their citizens, and developing independent town libraries. And then we moved into the regional era, where municipalities began cooperating with each other and with the rural municipalities. That was the key.
Regional libraries came to be because small libraries needed a way to expand what they had available to their users, and the best way to do that was by sharing. So as they came together and shared what they had in terms of expertise, in terms of their collection, forming these larger groups where each one had a voice. And so they could work together to decide what was best for their communities.
Now, in 2007, Alberta has become a national and international leader in the provision of public library service, with 99.3% of Albertans having immediate access to one or more of 310 public libraries and their programs and services within the community or region where they live.
The one thing we really remember about libraries is when they're connected, they're all the same size. And so then with this connection in libraries, it opens a little place like Lowman. You have access to the whole province and all the services.
I'm a passionate person about libraries. I think they are just one of the best services our community has, and thank goodness we have such a long history of libraries in Alberta.
I think more people are starting to realize that libraries are just the heart of a community.
We are very fortunate in Alberta to have one of the best library systems in the world, and that opportunity that they provide for people is unsurpassed.
I guess we don't think that a community is complete without libraries. Great libraries make great cities, and most of the places in Alberta are striving to be considered to be great by somebody's standards. Libraries are absolutely essential. They're not frills, they contribute actively to the quality of community life for the individual and for the community in which he lives.
It's the one institution that goes across all levels, all barriers, all ages, all interests. You show me something else that's even remote, ain't there, so libraries will always be here.
Regardless of all the automation we have and the internet searching and all the things that people come to the library to do, over and above that, it still has to be all about the book.
We've come a considerable way developing a network of comprehensive libraries to meet the educational and intellectual needs of our communities. And it all got started with this act to provide for the establishment of public libraries. It's fitting today that we celebrate the vision of those who came before us and pledge to carry on that vision for future generations of Albertans.
Young lady, do you know that that book is better than 100 years overdue? I'd suggest that you return it now.
Some things never change.
I think it's a great resource that a lot of people don't realize they have, that they can use. You know, public libraries, not only do they have books, but they have reference materials and they have internet access.
Our families always believe that you can give your children and grandchildren many gifts, but the best gift of all you can give them is the love of reading and the love of books and access to a library.